Evertonians all around this country, all around the world are thinking, what is going on at our club? Everton followed up their 4-1 defeat to Bournemouth in the League Cup this week by going straight back there, and another dire defeat, this time 3-0 they suffered at the hands of the same opponent, and the supporters were not happy. So much so, there were angry exchanges at full time between members of the Everton travelling support and the players, with stewards and police separating the two groups. Can you believe that? Frank Lampard said afterwards he understood it.
Firstly, the fans have a right to be disappointed. They've come down here twice this week and seen poor performances. And before that, we've been going okay, and then they see performances that they don't like. So when we're pleased that they're happy after Palace, when we're pleased that they give us a welcome, we have to understand that they can voice their opinion, and their opinions are right today. So I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding. Alex had some friends that he was concerned about that were sort of at the front of the fans. There's nothing in that, and the players just have to accept that the fans have a right to voice their opinions. And again, they were right today.
Just looking at it, Everton's 17th, Graeme, at the moment. Arsenal lead the way. 23 points between Arsenal and Everton at the moment. How come Everton always seem to be one bad result away from a crisis?
Well, can I first say, we're talking about Everton, but give some credit to the Cherries. Bournemouth were very good. Obviously very good against them twice. So fair play to Bournemouth and to the manager.
Should he get the job, Gary O'Neill?
I think so.
All right, we'll touch on that the other side of this break.
But for Everton are a big football club. I know the city. They're passionate about the football in that city. They have played second fiddle to Liverpool for a long, long time now. That hurts them, and they're suffering right now. Why are we always talking about Everton? Because they're down near the bottom, and that's why they're only ever one game away from the roof falling in. And it's a price on a ticket. When you're not winning games and you're at a big football club, people will talk about you, and sometimes not in a very nice way. That's where Everton are right now.
Now we know, Simon, we've seen this procession of high-profile managers come and go. I mean, unless Frank, once the other side of Qatar comes along, gets it going soon, you have to think he's going to join that list.
Yeah, I mean, I very much like Frank Lampard, and I was one of the people that felt that, to some extent, given the brief that he was given at Chelsea, it was a little bit early to have taken him out based upon the fact that they'd given him a brief based upon only having young players and just started to allow him to spend some money. Of course, Thomas Tuchel came along and put it into perspective by winning the Champions League 4 months later. I don't know what the question was at Everton. If Frank Lampard was the answer, I'm not entirely sure what the question was. They got themselves out of jail at the very last knockings at the back end of last season, and they've started this season inauspiciously again. But if you look at the Everton side and you look at the quality, and I think if we're reading the notes on this about Alex Iwobi, he's one of the few players that actually has done well for them. So if fans are throwing his shirt back at him because of his performance in an individual game, I think that's a little disappointing, because I've been very condemnatory of Alex Iwobi making observations. If I was Arsenal and someone offered me 35 million quid for him, I'd have sent him around in a cab. But he's gone and done well in recent times for Everton. So I think, despite the fact that I don't think he's a world beater, he's been an honest player for Everton. But if you look at the team out there and look at what Everton have become, with all the grandstanding of the hundreds of millions of pounds that Moshiri has spent, and, they've had Ronald Koeman in there. They've had Sam Allardyce brought in to do a job specifically to keep them in a division a couple of years ago. They pursued Marco Silva, and that didn't necessarily work out. They had Martinez for a while. And here we are with Frank Lampard. And I'm not entirely sure, looking at the squad of players, when you're signing players that Brighton don't want, and I know Brighton are a very good side, but you're taking away a perceived goal scorer in Neil Maupay. You're looking at Dwight McNeil from a relegated Burnley, and you're looking at Demarai Gray that does it in flashes and is a good player, but ultimately has had certain periods of time at each club he's been to.
Those three are the perfect example.
What are you expecting? Then you've got your centre forward on the front page of GQ holding a handbag. What do you expect to really see from a team? I know I'm being a bit flippant, but that is what Everton have become a little bit right now, and it's not something I take lightly, because I'm very fond of Bill. I think it's a great football club. But I don't think they know whether they're Arthur or Martha at this moment in time, and I'm not sure Frank Lampard. I would have thought Frank Lampard in this incarnation would have been better because he didn't have, no disrespect to Jody Morris, but he had an experienced coach alongside him in Paul Clement, who is a decent number 2, not a manager, he's a decent number 2. But all of this to one side, you know, when you go up to Bournemouth, and again, Graham's right to flag Bournemouth's perspective, when you go and get spanked in the Cup 4-1, and then you turn up 3 days later and you get spanked again 3-0, you're going to get some real pushback from your fans because it's not good enough.
Exactly, you didn't learn first time around.
When you get beat, and beaten well, 4-1,
you bounce
back.
back
There 3-4 days later, you expect it to be a real fight. And they got rolled over again. Okay, Bournemouth are very good, but, you know, it wasn't a difficult win for Bournemouth at the end of the day in either game. And that's a concern because you look for a reaction from your players. When you've been stuffed and you've been properly beaten, you're looking at them closely and you're harsh on them.
Yeah.
Again, maybe the dynamic in the dressing room has changed dramatically. Maybe you still have to ask them to try a little bit harder rather than demand it.
Do you get any sense of what Frank Lampard is building up there, if building is the right word?
No,
me either.
No, and that's the worry.
Yeah. So while we're in Qatar, it's back to the drawing board for Lampard. Of that, there is no doubt.